702.
Live
On the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7.
And 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
Good morning to you and you and you. It's 7 minutes past 9. Welcome to the Clement Manyathela Show. TD Madia in for Clement. We just celebrated his birthday. Madimeja, we're sending you all the love, all the joy. Happy birthday to you, my friend. I'll be with you until 12 o'clock today. We start the show with the open. And where do you want us to go? There's so much to pick at. What do you want us to discuss? Is it Gayton McKenzie and the K-word saga? Is it the national dialogue that now needs a dialogue of its own? Or is it the Mayibuye, Africa Mayibuye, which we all knew would be contesting elections, confirming that it's seeking to contest the elections? Mind you, Africa Mayibuye has only been around since June. They've consulted enough to know right now, as I speak to you, that they want to be on the ballot next year. Do we need more parties? And it doesn't have to be political. I'm mentioning a lot of political stories. Listen, it does not need to be that at all. You can raise whatever you want. Me, I'm down for anything. You call the shots. 011-883-0702 to raise topics, to weigh in on the topics we'll be discussing. 072-702-1702. That's for your voice notes and WhatsApps. Let's chat.
702.
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
So yesterday, Sunday, I decided, and this is not what I do for fun. Somebody said to me, Abel said to me, this is what he thinks I do for fun, is go to political gatherings. No, I have a life. But yesterday, I decided to go to the Africa Mayibuye engagement because it was in the Joburg CBD. I live in the East. It's not too far. But I've always wanted to kind of go because you kind of want to feel, when you hear about something, you're not sure what it is, what it's about. You want to get a sense of what this thing is actually about that you keep hearing about. So I wanted to touch it, to feel it myself, just to get a sense of what is actually Floyd going on about. I've been curious about it. I wanted to get the mood for myself. So I went to the CBD, to the Joburg City Hall in the CBD yesterday. So the program was due to start at 1. I'm going to tell you a few things that I picked up on. The program was due to start at 1. It did not start at 1. Surprise, surprise. Other takeaways for me, there were a lot of familiar faces that I found really interesting. I found a lot of familiar faces. Some of them even saying to me, don't you remember we met in 2013 when I was campaigning for EFF? So a lot of familiar faces that I associate with the EFF were actually there. Your Musa Novellas. I didn't realize that Musa Novella had also followed. I mean, it's quite obvious when you look at the history of who Musa Novella is and his relationship with Floyd Shivambu, but he was also there. Then I realized that what Floyd Shivambu's also done in the short space of time, is he picked up on all the tricks that they use in the EFF. The EFF has a really savvy media team. The live streams, the sound, he's got all of that. And I kept asking myself, how is this all possible so quickly? Mayibuye, Africa Mayibuye, guys, was launched in June. What's interesting about me standing in for Clement today, I thought about is that actually it was around about this time last year when I was saying, I know what's going to happen in the EFF. I know Floyd Shivambu was going to leave. And he announced that he was leaving. So it's been in the space of a year. He's gone through, he's wore 3 different colors, EFF, MKP, and now Africa Mayibuye. And then he's saying that they also will be on the ballot. So they've consulted enough since June, July, August. They've done enough to know that they must contest the politics next year. What I also found interesting is the setup is actually well established. So they have a women's league. Yesterday they were talking about a youth league. They have a medic center. There's so many things. So it's absolutely fascinating. The structures fascinate me. Then even the travel, they'd fully paid for the hall. I'm like, where does the money even come from? You just started. How are they able to afford all of this? I mean, the ANC, the mighty ANC, can barely afford a venue for an NEC meeting. Here's Floyd, massive, massive undertaking in an organization that's been around for just less than 3 months. So I found that really fascinating. And yes, I did ask, is it Bushiri? Is it mining? Is it a question of people who are funding the EFF and now funding them? So I have a lot of questions. I'm very curious. He's somebody who I'd really love to have an interview with, who hasn't agreed. But I am very curious. But I want you to take a listen, of course, to what he had to say about the ballots.
Are, of course, in a consultation process. But it's not a secret that the overwhelming views of the people of South Africa from all the provinces that we have gone to thus far, the overwhelming view even from all the regions of Gauteng which were consulted by the provincial consultation team, is that we should constitute Africa Mayibuye into a revolutionary political movement, part of which will be a political party to contest elections. And because we know what we are doing, we are already in the process of registering Africa Mayibuye movement as a political party, which will contest elections in 2026, in 2029, and moving forward. And we are not just going to contest elections. We are going to contest elections to win elections, particularly here in the province of Gauteng.
Guys, they've been around for less than just 2 odd months or so, 3 months. And as I said to you yesterday, I was like, oh, this thing is solidly set up already. And they are moving towards elections. I mean, some people have seen the difference of opinion saying, no, they're rushing the process. For me, the question is, do we need another party on the ballot? And I know people have written them off, but actually I'm starting to believe that what might happen is a seat or two will emerge. And you might say that means nothing. Then I'd say to you, well, think about Kabelo Kwamanda and Tapelo Ahmad. They can write on their CVs, whether you like it or not, because that's the era that we're in. They can actually write on their CVs, have been mayor of the city of Johannesburg. That's the politics of today. That's what they delivered. So Floyd Shivambu moving towards the elections in an era where there's so much bartering and there's so much madness that happens in this era of coalitions could actually come up with something that he can utilize. Spoke to Julius Malema a few weeks ago on Politrick on the podcast, and Julius said, well, if talking has to happen with Floyd, we'll do it. Even if they view it as a great betrayal, when it comes down to it. If he goes to contest elections, has enough to negotiate, they'll have that negotiation. I find that I'm literally jaw on the floor at how fast all of this is happening. It's been a year. 011-883-0702, 072-7021-702 if you want to weigh in on that story.
Let's walk the talk.
702.
Another story that's caught my attention this weekend. I watched him on Facebook last night. I don't know if anyone's ever watched The Boondocks. Do you guys know The Boondocks? Have you ever heard of that? It's a cartoon. I like cartoons, even adult versions. But anyway, so I watched The Boondocks, and in The Boondocks, there's this character named Uncle Ruckus. Uncle Ruckus is a black man who does not necessarily see himself as a black man. Says he's got a skin condition. He's a black man who hates black people, supposedly. And that's what Gayton McKenzie has been labeled. Of course, this as tweets that he supposedly posted back in the day have surfaced, calling black people the K word. They smell, they this, they that. All manner of things were being said by Gayton McKenzie, who just last week was raising hell over that, is it Open Chats podcast and what those kids were saying. Again, that wasn't okay. That's not allowed. That's discrimination. There was great issue to be taken with their comments around the colored community, rightfully so. And then this week, then the very same guy who's kicking dust about racism is then found wanting with his views about black people. So political parties such as EFF, Action and Say, the DA, I think even ATM have all complained in one way or another. Some even taking action. So I understand that Gayton McKenzie has been reported to the Human Rights Commission. I know ATM has written already to the Ethics Committee. Many of these political parties are calling for his resignation. Parties are saying that, yes, those are old posts, but they remain harmful, especially for those on the receiving end. It was Bob Marley who said, who feels it, knows it. So that argument holds water for some. McKenzie, though, on his part, held a Facebook Live. As I said, he really, really loves Facebook Lives. I think for him, in his parties, in his capacity as a party leader, he doesn't have media briefings. He has Facebook Lives where he talks to his constituency, doesn't want to engage via the media. I don't know why in a democracy, but that's what we're seeing. So he holds this live, to address the claims that have been leveled against him, pretty much taking full ownership of some of the posts, distancing himself from others. In some instances, saying he was misunderstood. In others, he said you need to understand the context better. And also saying that he was a different person back then, that he wasn't guided at the time by aspirations of holding public office, which he does now. I want you to listen quickly to Gayton McKenzie's own take on the backlash, which he says, by the way, is purely political.
There's this thing where I never thought people will accuse me of racism. So I answer to the people. I don't answer to the Twitter mob. I answer to the people of the Patriotic Alliance. Our media has never had a time to you can get an elementary student, kindergarten student that is good to find out what I'm going to tell you now, if it's the truth or whatever. I'm still going to post everything that I'm saying here afterwards, just so that you can know the truth. Number one, in my entire life, I've never called anybody the K-word. Never. Where's the victims? This is a political campaign driven by EFF together with some, they call them influencers on Twitter. Excuse me. Let them show me. You said to you, Gayton, said to point B, you said to that person, this person, you use the K word when referring to that person. They can't. They have gone back to, do you know they went back 11 years? Do you know how much money it is to have people investigate each and everything that you've done in your life? Now, this is a political campaign. So the first thing I want to say is, if there must be a victim, racism has a victim. Who's the victim? Who did I ever use the K word to? That's number one. That's the first thing they should prove. Hell is mal. I've never. But I'm going to go deeper in tonight, Patriots. Number one, they can't say, there's a lady called Penny Sparrow, I think. She's in jail for using the K word against people. Can somebody tell me where's the K word that I used against who? That's number one. Number two, is there anybody in this world that can say, I've treated them, I've been racist with them? Anyone?
So those are some of the views from that Facebook Live. It's a very long Facebook Live. He goes on and on when he's on Facebook. But what is your take? Yeah? He says there should be a victim, that there is no victim. Again, I'd make an argument that he was claiming, because I watched a bit of that live last night, and he was saying at some point that, you know, a lot of these are taken out of context, that it's all political. This is EFF going after him. This is everybody going after him. He takes issue with all of you going back 11 years into his past. At some point, he speaks about how he was a different person back then, held very different aspirations. I mean, he even speaks about the lifestyle he and particularly his partner, the deputy president of the PA, Kenny Kunene, lived. But I'd make an argument. Bob Marley says, those who know it feel it. Why is he not understanding that? I mean, he's gone on to explain that he's the son of a black mother. And then it gets like this very weird language. And I think he says he sleeps with he's made a child with a black woman, and gets into all of that. The EFS in our Tambo responding this morning had a lot of tweets, I think, about this, saying, Chief, you said if those open chat kids do not face consequences, it'll destroy them because they'll think racism is okay. You said, as painful as it was, you had to ask Kenny, this is Kunene, to step aside so that he can be investigated, even though you believe he's innocent. What lessons will be learned by you and society if you remain in charge of our sports, arts, and culture while hating black people with a passion. You can be born of a black woman, sleep with black women, and still hate black people. Your reasoning is nonsense. He says apartheid whites were raised by black domestic workers and hated and opposed them regardless. Leave government out of your hate. Resign, Gayton. The question to you is, where do you stand on all of this? Should he be resigning? 011-883-0702, 072702 Kamu, you are in Johannesburg. Good morning.
Morning, CD. Yes. You know what I don't like about people like Gayton in particular, and he's not an isolated case, but I want to talk about him in particular. Gayton wants to change the race card depending on the situation. If there's a business opportunity or he makes money or is going to get some type of influence or power, then he's black. And similarly, if the opportunity aligns on a personal level or even on a business level, but it needs him to be colored, then he's colored. Now, Gayton cannot be colored on a Monday, black on a Tuesday, colored on a Wednesday, black on a Thursday. It can't work like that. He needs to decide what he is, but he changes race depending on what am I confronted with. I mean, when I look at Gayton McKenzie and from the stories that are now popping up that his father was black, his mother was black, they changed surnames because of having benefits under the apartheid. Like a lot of black people, they're changing their surnames to surnames like Wet Boy. Wet Boy, I mean, what black person is Wet Boy? That doesn't even make sense. But depending on what people get, they want to change and swap races. And this needs to come to an end. Gayton is a professional racist. Professional, just like a lot of people in the DA like Helen Zille. You know, they want to say things and swap statements and flip-flop depending on the convenience of the day.
Yeah. All right, Kamu, thank you so much. Let's come out to Johannesburg saying that Gayton McKenzie vacillates. Depending on where the benefit lies, that's where his argument will be. And I wouldn't be surprised if there were more people who shared in Kamu's view. Guy, or is it G in Johannesburg? Good morning.
Good morning. And good morning to 702 Land listeners.
Sure. Good morning.
So, I mean, the thing is, we've heard the lives, we've heard the comments, but people are calling for Gayton to sit down as the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture. He's doing a phenomenal job. So, I mean, why would you want a guy doing his job, showing what he can do, showing his salt? There's no reason for him to step down. Absolutely no reason for him to step down.
So you want to separate? So you want to separate who he was a decade ago versus who we think he is now? Because part of the argument that's been put forward, I just read Sinawa Tambo's tweet. That's a person who's seen as hateful towards a grouping in society. Should you not respond to that perception? He must just be seen in isolation from how he's perceived. Because if you are, let me try and find a way to put it. If you're perceived to hate one particular grouping when you're meant to be in service of the whole, there will be an issue. You'll be slanted with how you service people. In fact, the argument around Gayton McKenzie, if you've been paying attention, is that he is trying to move particular people out of the departments and move in a particular grouping into the department. He is accused of discrimination on the job. That is something that follows him. And when you look at those kind of tweets, then you can't help but connect what his views were then with some of his actions now, where he's serving in a public portfolio, he's using public power and public money.
Yes, okay. I'm listening to what you're saying. But he's serving the public. He's serving the public. That is the most important factor here. And the thing is now, people are bringing up old things. I mean, it's the same thing with what people say about the past president being Jacob Zuma, the current president, and all their corruption scandals. However, Jacob Zuma served the people. Whether he served them good or bad, that's a story for another day.
Okay.
So Ramaphosa is currently serving the people. Whether he's serving them good or bad, again, a story for another day.
Okay.
This guy, Gayton McKenzie, is serving the people.
All right.
He's doing a very good job.
All right, G, thank you so much. That's G in Johannesburg. I think G missed my point, is if you are accused of discriminating via the tweets, the views, and that's supposedly following you in how you then do your job, that means you haven't changed. What's that saying? A leopard not changing its spots, skin, that thing? That's what people are accusing him of. Is that not something we should be paying attention to or trying to interrogate further? Jermaine in Joburg South, hi.
Hi, Siri. See, I'm looking at all this as well, and like I'm saying also, how do we assess a person whether when they're using a K word? Is it when they're using in reference to someone as bad, or what if someone just says it as an educational setting, or use the word when we're referring to a system? Is the fact that if you just say the K word in its full, is that the problem on its own, or is the problem where when I say okay,
targeted an individual?
You understand? So I don't understand, because it seems as though a person could be speaking something and could be referring, and they use the K word in fullness in referring to a system, in referring to a particular view, and now all of a sudden you're not supposed to say it. I mean, every word I can say in a dictionary.
So that's what he's also raising.
The context is there. I'm not saying that the Romies are this here and they're all like this. That could be problematic. But if I'm referring to a system by using the word, why is it a problem? And another thing too is, if you look at Gayton, he had a past. He had a criminal past. He had a criminal background. And we as a society and as a media have accepted him to run a certain office. How is it okay now that we accept people to run, having a background, but when their past background also, I'm not saying he said it, but when your past background also illustrates a certain direction, you can't accept it. So we are hypocritical. Ourselves, people, the media is hypocritical in judging people. We allow people to run for certain things, but as soon as we hear him say something else, now it's not a problem, you can't run in office because you use the K word. I mean, like the last caller said, the man is doing a phenomenal job. It's got nothing to do with his work ethic. And another thing too, I strongly believe that the EFF and certain platforms are pushing the narrative, because what happened last week with that other group, Open Cast Check.
But majority of us, hold on, Jermaine, just very quickly on that, pushing a narrative about last week. Many of us were in agreement last week that those kids were wrong. Many of us are in agreement that you don't speak like that about people. You don't make those assertions, that they were incorrect. I didn't see a lot of people who were in agreement with those kids because they were wrong. Scientifically speaking, they were wrong. It's distasteful. It's a lie. And they should have been able to check each other. None did. So I don't see how that the questions around Gayton, because people are offended by last week. We're in agreement as society about last week. We're in agreement that those kids were wrong.
Okay, now I want us to discuss this. I hear you. I want to discuss this. When can you say the K word? Or is it a word that you can never, under no circumstances? Even if I'm saying to you, hey, you know what? I remember before when I was small, and then I went here and if people said the K and they mentioned and said to me, I'm a K.
No.
Am I wrong for saying the word in itself, or am I only wrong if I say so and so is a that, or so and so is a that?
That's what Gayton's actually asking, by the way. Jermaine, I'm going to leave it there because it's 9:30. That's actually the question that you're asking is what Gayton is asking, and maybe another Gayton is on the line. I'm going to come to you after the headlines, Gayton and Santon. Maybe he's got the answer. Maybe he's got the answer, but that is the question that Gayton did ask yesterday, saying that there is no victim, saying that he was explaining the word. It wasn't targeted at somebody. But in order to be, to say a word that offends people, it doesn't have to be offended by somebody's actions. It doesn't have to be targeted at you. I can be in the room and be offended by action that I'm seeing taking place. I can see you mistreat people and be offended by it without it being targeted at me, Tsidi, in the room. Does that make sense? Anyway, it's 9:31. I'm a little bit late.
702.
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
It's 9:37. The Clement Manyathela Show, CD, my dear, in for Clement. It's open now. We're discussing a variety of issues. I see a lot of you weighing in on the issue of Gayton McKenzie. All tweets coming back to haunt the minister. So the past, you live consistently in the past, the present, yeah. So they've come back to haunt him, and now there are calls for the minister to resign. A lot of people going back and forth about his use of the K word. When is it allowed? When is it not allowed? A friend of mine just WhatsApp saying, in terms of the Equality Court jurisprudence, you can, for example, use the apartheid flag, hate speech, which that's what it's been ruled, in certain contexts, artistic performance. And I think even when you are educating, right, in a context where you are educating people and explaining the words, then I think the word can come into play. And I think that's what Gayton McKenzie yesterday was attempting to explain, that he was giving context, in essence, that it wasn't targeted at anybody, which is why last night he kept saying, where are the victims? Show me the victims. There are no victims. But I'd make an argument that those who feel it know it. And there's a reason why people take offense. But of course, that doesn't strip away the politics of it all. Part of what is at play is political theater around an issue like this. But at the heart of it, there's also the seriousness and also the substance of the man, right? You judge who Gayton McKenzie is. 011-883-0702 for calls, 072-702-1702 for voice notes and WhatsApps. Let me play a few of your voice notes quickly.
Morning, CD. Yeah, the issue of Gayton McKenzie, it's a very sad issue. My view on the matter, I think he should resign, or if he doesn't resign, the president should fire him. Because if this matter is not handled well, next time when the DA complain that the president is inconsistent, it will hold water. Because, uttering K-words repeatedly, it's a very concerning. Actually, when I saw the story, I thought maybe it's just a fake story. It's just a fake news. So how do you remain a minister of sports while you have said
CD and the team? I just wanted to, with Gayton McKenzie, I just want to know, what will now the president do? Because we can't have a minister of arts and culture representing everyone and then being so racist. And then now he comes back and then he's blaming AI. And there's no way, if you look at his page, there's no way an AI can print so many words of being racist towards certain groups. And he's racist towards an Indian group and black people. So, and also the way he speaks about children and the, on one of his tweets, the way he speaks about kids and all of that stuff. So it doesn't make sense. So what is the president going to do about it? Because we can't have a minister who says things like that and then he's not being held accountable. He must be held accountable like he's holding other people too, which is right.
Hi, Siri, this is Solly here. I think people forget that even Professor Adam Habib, you might recall when he arrived in the UK, he was speaking and not necessarily addressing somebody directly, and he mentioned the N-word, and he was pulled over the coals because of that. So it's not really in that one has to be addressing the word at a specific person. It's just the word is offensive for all the reasons that we know. I don't think McKenzie should necessarily be fired, but I think he should apologize fully and offer not to do that again.
Thank you so much. Yes, you're right. That Adam Habib meant, I think far back as 2021, where the students themselves would not accept it. And he was using it in a classroom context, if you may, and that wasn't accepted by the students. I remember that very well. He did go back to work. It was clear, if I remember well. On the WhatsApp line, Musedi in Rustenburg says, morning. It's funny that it's okay to use the K word in a system, but kill the boer referring to a system is, however, offensive to white people. Okay. Somebody else says here, Pumlani says, Ronaldo Kho's comments came back to haunt him. Why should it be different for the minister? Let's stick to the principles of who is involved, regardless of who's involved. I think that's an important one. And I think the Ronaldo Kho's argument, one would say, was placed at the door of the DA and the DA acted. The Gayton McKenzie matter gets placed at the door of the PA. And what happens when it's the president of the organization who's found wanting, especially where they've said to you, there's no democracy here. There are no democratic practices in the PA. They do it at a whim as they feel. And please, Kenny Kunene has said that to me on politicking himself. There'll be no such. We'll do what we think is best. So what happens when the leaders then called into question. Mind you, there have been questions around directives that Gayton McKenzie gives at the department for months now since being appointed. I've always said he's a happy chappy, happy to be a minister. That is who Gayton McKenzie is. But how he then goes about doing his job, are we not allowed to criticize that? We'll criticize that. And when comments like these come up, right? And then you link it to complaints about directives and how he discriminates on the basis of nationality, then those tweets carry weight. Then those tweets are not just empty. Going to your phone lines. Now, I did say earlier that Gayton, the other Gayton who's in Sandton, might have a response around the issue of there is no such thing as a victim. Gayton, good morning.
Hi, Judy. How are you?
Very good. You are not the Gayton that's under fire, but yes.
most definitely not. Next, I love me really. Listen, Judy. Let's first address one thing about Gayton. People are saying that he does a superb and phenomenal job. No, he's not. Sport is in tatters as we're speaking right now. Federations haven't received funding. All their budgets that they signed with the department for 3 years have been slashed between 40 and 60%. The Olympic Committee of South Africa received zero budget. Everything has just gone thrown out of the water because Gayton wants to bring in the VAR, because Gayton wants to bring in Formula One, because Gayton wants to bring in Live Golf, and he wants to highlight spinning. So the rest of the 80 federations in the country are suffering because of these policies that Gayton is bringing in. And you'll find a lot of these federations might even shut down and close up because of these type of policies. But that's the one side of him. Relating to this particular side, he asks, who's the victim, Chidi? Let's go to Adam Casavello's interview. Took a video, spoke, and it had nothing to do with identifying certain people. He just spoke about all the white people on the beach, all right? And he had to answer to that particular one. And he got wrapped on the knuckles for that. Gayton is asking who's the victim. Read his tweets. A K person is only interested in getting cattle and having a wife and sitting at home. Then he refers to the black women as monkeys and that type of thing. I mean, who is he speaking to? Who's the victim? The victim is the complete race of the black people, not only South Africa, throughout the world. That's the victims. Those people are the victims. We are the victims. So you want to ask who's the victim? The victim is the whole black race that you have identified with the K word.
All right, Gayton,
so
thank you so
much. That is my take.
Thank you. Gayton pointing out there also what the state of sports and art is actually in our country on his watch. Saying it's one thing to praise the minister, but you actually need to interrogate what is actually happening. Peter and Santon, hi.
Yeah, Gayton brought all this onto himself, right? He shot himself in the foot. Because think about it, this whole thing started because of what he did. He was just after those podcasters, right? Who again, using his thinking, didn't direct this thing to anybody. They just told in general and said colored people are crazy, and then they do the incest, right? So, and then here's the thing: those youngsters apologized not once but twice. Right? But what did Gayton do? No, he was still carrying on and on and on and on. And then maybe somebody said, okay, this guy is so righteous, or he thinks he's so righteous, let's check his part. And that's when this thing came out. All he has to do, it's very simple, just apologize and everything. But then it's going to have a problem also with that. Because
there's a problem with apologizing that I could pick up last night.
Yes. Because now when he's going to try to apologize, other people are going to say, but why didn't now you accept the apology from those youngsters?
Those kids.
Right? They're just talking and just talking. You could see the thinking. So he's got a problem that he brought this onto himself. By just continue and following these youngsters, and then and we all know that obviously he was doing that thing to get the votes from the colored people that are now with DA. At least he was saying, and he has, in fact, because some people who are coming up now and say, Gayton McKenzie is looking out for us, therefore we're going to vote for him. So for him, on his part, it was a political maneuver, right?
Sure.
He saw this is an opportunity now to say, all right, I can garner some
votes, yeah.
by feeling like I'm looking after the interest when nobody else is talking about it. Exactly.
All right, thank you so much, Peter Artensant. And that conversation around the colored community is also an important one to have, because that is the big play. If you watch how the DA moves in the Western Cape and you watch what the PA is doing, and the fact that they all know that's where you can go get more votes. So particular decisions are made, and it's quite divisive. The politics of South Africa today, are very problematic, man. Incredibly problematic. Unison Kilani.
Yeah, hi there, Sidi. Sidi, you were talking of Ronaldo Host. Oh, incidentally, he's just now come out with a video, I don't know if you've seen it, where McKenzie had a go at him. He's now quoting Gayton McKenzie, not 10 years ago, last year at the Biz News conference, and the language that he used. Exactly the same language what Gayton is using a year ago. So
no,
many
he hasn't
people
changed.
Are that point.
Thank you so much.
No, one more point, Sidi, that's now last year. Someone forwarded me Kenny Kunene's tweets in 2013, something about women, and I promise you, almost threw up. If you have a look at that, and I'm surprised women's groups haven't taken that up. In 2013, a series of tweets that he sent out, Kenny Kunene.
Sure.
And, I think the game that when we were youngsters, we played Monopoly, you picked up a card and it says, do not pay a fine, go straight to jail. I think it applies to both of them.
So, Eunice, thank you so much, Eunice Aden Kilani. He's raising an issue that, again, guys, you need to go watch that Facebook Live. That's all I'm saying, because he attempted to address all of those things, including the position on women around Kenny Kunene, the party guy, Kenny Kunene. But these are the people that have been given enough power to be at the table. When I spoke about Mayibuye, Africa Mayibuye, I said, Floyd doesn't need to target a lot, guys, to get at the table. He doesn't. The fact that you had a Tapelo Ahmad as a mayor of Johannesburg, that Kabelo Gwamanda could be mayor, tells you what kind of era we are in. So, of course, we'll deliver the kinds of people like Kenny Kunene and Gayton McKenzie with the views that they've had. Those views aren't a secret. What's interesting enough, when Eunice says, go look at a video of comments he made last year, go listen to the comments last night. The K word still continues to remain a part and parcel of Gayton McKenzie's vocabulary as he tries to explain what went wrong. But anyway, let's take a quick break. I see all your calls. Antonio, James, Sammy, Tilizi. I see you all. I'm coming back.
102.
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
9:52. We are taking your calls, your voice notes, your WhatsApps. We're discussing the moment, the dominant conversation is the saga around the Arts and Culture Minister, Gayton McKenzie, and his use of the K word. People saying that he's not fit to be a minister. He never was. Well, the politics of today and the way you and I vote, in turn, in part, it's what's on offer that's given us this thing, right? We are all part and parcel of how we ended up here, I think. Sammy in Centurion, I. Sammy, I don't know if yes, loud and clear, go on.
Hello?
I can hear you, Sammy, go on. Sammy Karok, I can hear you.
Yes, with this whole thing of Gayton McKenzie, I say people are just blowing your stomach off a teacup. Because if you look at the time when we was using this K word, when was it 10 years ago?
And last night?
Pardon?
Even last night he was using the K word. I was watching him on his Facebook Live. Continues to use the word.
Yes, but what Action SA, when Action SA laid charges against him, it was based on what he had said 10 years ago, wasn't it?
Absolutely. They're raising old tweets. But I'm saying to you, Sammy, even last night, he continues to explain himself, still using the word, not recognizing that there's a problem with the word.
Yes. Okay, maybe I didn't get it yesterday. Maybe I didn't get it for yesterday. But I'm saying that if we were to dig up things from the past, then we might end up having all of the leaders of the chapter 9 institutions this, because I can bet you most of them have said things that are disparaging about people.
But even then, Sammy, let's say you didn't hear last night. Sorry to cut in, but let's say you didn't hear last night. But the part where when he explains it, he wants to call it AI. When he explains it, he wants to blame other people. Where's the responsibility then in taking taking accountability for one's actions in those conversations, because that's not what he's doing. He's deflecting at the moment. He's a victim at the moment.
Okay, I didn't get it. I didn't get the parts for the parts for the last night. All the conversation that I had, it was only for the past 10 years. So mine is about the past 10 years. So I'm saying that if we were to dig up the past, look at what someone has said in the past, you might end up having a situation where even the president has to step down. Because I can tell you there's some parts in the past where Ramaphosa has said some disparaging things about people, especially white people.
Okay.
So if we are to focus on what he has said yesterday, sure, let's hold him accountable. But for the stuff that he said for the past 10 years, let's let it go.
Okay, all right, Sammy.
Sure.
Thank you. Sammy says it's old news, let it go. That if you had to dig up everybody's past, all of us will be found wanting in one way or another. We'll have no cabinet if we continue. Antonio in Fairlands.
You see, Tidi, if you were a politician, I would say you were very opportunistic because you knew this topic was going to make the open lines very hot. So well done.
No, Antonio, I wanted to speak about other things.
You are an opportunist. You are an opportunist.
No, I'm a conversation starter, Antonio.
I want to say this. I want to say this. Okay. A lot of people have already covered what I wanted to say, but you know what? People of Mzansi, we are very forgiving people, and I believe that, people have committed far worse atrocities and have been forgiven. But the forgiveness that you will receive will be a measure of what you extend. And a lot of this has got to do with the opportunistic approach that the person concerned took in regard to those young children and what they said on that podcast. The approach could have been, these are children, they are ignorant. Let's have a conversation with them. Let's talk and understand why they have those views. The context doesn't matter for me. People trying to say that it was out of context and whatever. It's not about what I say, CD. It's about how you receive it. So let's forget trying to get technical about context, the context that it was used in. Cyril Ramaphosa's son said something in Dubai about, black people and stuff like that. And that went away, okay? But he didn't hold public office. He didn't hold public office. Gayton holds a public office, and his views matter. His view matters. Correct. His view. Correct. And if he had been the bigger guy and not used last week's incident as a political game, as point scoring, and make it seem like all colored people are offended by this statement. Yes, people were offended, but a lot of people would have chosen to respond very differently to that podcast and to make it about, championing the cause because of this and whatever. That's resulted in this. If there had been a different PA approach, a Gayton approach and not the one that he took last week, I tell you, these tweets would have been received very differently. But that response resulted in the digging, and now still trying to defend it and trying to give context as to all of that. That's making it worse. Just say, I'm sorry. If I'm in an argument with you, Tidi, and I say, I'm sorry, and you say, but and I say, Tidi, I said, I'm sorry. I take out the wind out of your sails. Yeah.
It's gone, it's finished.
I take, correct. You can't fight with me if I'm saying I'm sorry. The thing with Gayton's tweets and a lot of people, that podcast is a microcosm of conversations that are still happening in spaces and places. The only difference between Gayton's tweets and those podcasts is that there are some who get caught and some who don't get caught. We shouldn't be concerned about the ones that are published in podcasts, the ones that are published in tweets. We should be concerned about the conversations that are where people never get caught. And that's the dialogue. Correct. That's the dialogue that must be had. Thank you, Tidi.
Thank you so much, Antonio. That's actually a wonderful note to leave this conversation on, is that Gayton McKenzie missed a teaching moment, instead making it political. And I think it's that hunger for that share of the votes. And look at where he is now.